are here, and the room is finally quiet. The day has put down its heavy bags and gone to the door. Let your breath lengthen, not by effort, but by trust. Inhale as if drawing in a small light. Exhale as if releasing a small weight. Somewhere beyond the window, the night is steady and wide. Somewhere nearer than your next thought, God is already present. Tonight we begin where the Gospel of John begins, with a calm, luminous beginning that carries tired hearts toward rest. Before we settle completely, one small kindness. If this peaceful space helps your heart, you may like and subscribe, only if it truly feels good to you. Leave a comment with your location and the time you pressed play. I love seeing where our circle of listeners reaches. Now, dim the lights. Let a fan hum if you like that sound. Nestle deeper into the pillow. And let us walk quietly into the story together. John does not start at a manger or a riverbank. He carries us to the hush before time. He says that in the beginning was the Word, alive, radiant, personal. Think of the Word as God's love speaking, God's heart made articulate. Through this Word, everything came to be. The coastlines you have never walked, the mountains you have not climbed, the small wildflowers no one will ever see except God. And through this Word came you. Not an accident, not an afterthought. Spoken on purpose, wanted, named. Light shines in the darkness, John whispers, and the darkness has not overcome it. Keep that line like a candle on your windowsill. Perhaps there have been hours that felt too heavy to carry, or rooms where the air felt thin. Perhaps the story you tell yourself at night has been edged with worry. Let the sentence meet you. Light does not surrender. Imagine those notes gathering the ingredients of your life, patiently and kindly. Your history is not a tangle to God. It is a thread He holds without strain. The memories that pinch, the questions that wake you at 3 a.m, the decisions you wish you could redo. He sees and does not flinch. The Word is not brittle. The Word is not in a hurry. The Word is steady enough to carry what you cannot carry alone. John adds that this light gives light to everyone, not to the perfect, not to the finished, not to the always brave, to everyone. When you cannot feel brave, light still finds the doorway. When you cannot feel holy, light still touches the floor by your bed. There is no test you must pass before you are allowed to rest. You are already invited. Rest is not a prize for good performance. It is a gift for beloved people. And you are beloved. Close your eyes and imagine a quiet shoreline just before sunrise. The sky holds a promise it hasn't spoken yet. The waves breathe in and out, untroubled by hurry or comparison. The Word stands beside you on the sand. He does not correct you. He companioned you here. He points to the horizon and then to your heart, as if to say, the same light that will lift the day is already rising in you. You do not have to manufacture it. You only have to notice. You might hear the voices that crowd your mind. Be better. Try harder. Fix everything. The Word is different. He says, come and see. Come without a script. Come with last week's mistakes still unhealed. Come with the tiredness you don't know how to explain. Come with the small joy you felt this morning and the ache you carried this afternoon. Come and see what love looks like when it is not measuring you. Even when you have felt unseen, there is a seeing that has never left you. Even when you have felt unheard, there is a listening that did not grow bored. The Word who was with God and is God has already chosen proximity. He stepped into human breath and heartbeat, and he steps near to you now. Some nights the dark feels louder than the light. That is all right. Light does not compete by shouting. It simply remains. Think of a nightlight in a child's room, so small, and yet it changes how the room feels. Think of the glow on your phone when you check the time in the deep hours. Even that little square pushes back the night. The Word is more faithful than any light we plug in. He is the light that does not go out when you fall asleep. The light that does not accuse when you wake. Breathe again, slow and kind. Let your shoulders lower and your jaw unhook. If tears come, let them be gentle. If no tears come, let there be gentleness anyway. You are learning consent to peace. You are choosing to stop wrestling with what cannot be solved tonight. The Word made flesh has always welcomed the tired. He did not build a world of locked doors. He made a world where doors open when you knock, where bread multiplies when you are hungry, where storms hush when fear has had its say. Listen for the smallest kindness in your room, the blanket holding your shape, the pillow receiving the weight of your head, the clock doing its work without asking you to manage it. God's kindness saturates ordinary things. If you have a small lamp nearby, imagine it as a sign of the prologue, a point of light within reach. If you have only the dark, remember that darkness is not emptiness. It is the canvas where stars are seen. Sex 0.05. When you cannot find your own life, you can rest in His breathing. He is not stingy with what you need. He is generous in quiet ways. As you drift, let a prayer form without words. Let gratitude move like a tide through your body, washing the edges of worry, leaving the sand smooth. Bless the people you love, by name or by face, and then place them gently into the care of the one who sees them more clearly than you do. Bless the parts of yourself that feel afraid. Bless them, not because fear is good, but because you are. You are not scolded here. You are welcomed. Tonight, the beginning is enough. The story will widen in the chapters to come, but for now, rest in this. The Word has spoken you into being and has no intention of letting you slip through His fingers. Light, small and steadfast, is already working in every corner you thought was unreachable. And you, tired as you are safe to sleep. The river moves like a long breath through the wilderness, slow, patient, unafraid of time. The reeds whisper in the evening air, and feet find the cool bank where John has been standing day after day. His clothing is simple, the kind that does not distract. His voice is strong but not harsh, certain but not demanding. People come because their hearts are noisy and their calendars are crowded, and they have heard that, somehow, this desert carries a quieter kind of news. John does not offer a complicated ladder to climb. He does not hand out badges to the best behaved. He speaks of turning, of a heart that pivots toward God like a flower turning toward morning. He speaks of water and the honesty of water, how it receives us as we are, how it holds our weight without keeping a record, how it lets us surface again, lighter. When someone asks if the water makes them perfect, John smiles the small smile of a patient teacher. No, his face seems to say. The water makes you honest, and honesty is where love can actually rest. Crowds always want a center, and they try to make John that center. Are you the one? They ask. Are you the answer to our ache? Are you the king we've been hoping for, the shortcut, the final cure? He could have let their hope gild him. He could have borrowed the warmth of their admiration. Instead, he points away with both hands, a compass needle finding true north. I am not the light, he says, and the admission is not a humiliation, but a relief. To be the witness, not the sun. To bear a lantern, not the sky. What a mercy for a human soul. There are nights when your own heart asks you to be more than human. Do everything. Fix everyone. Be everywhere. You carry names and numbers, deadlines and dishes. You can let the river do river work, and the Savior be Savior. Humility is not a shrinking. It is a right-sizing that lets your lungs fill again. John names himself a voice, the voice of one calling in the wilderness. Not the message itself, not the miracle, not the map. Just a voice, clear enough to echo, kind enough to be remembered with gratitude. In a world where so much strives to be permanent, John's self-knowledge is soothing. Voices rise and fall. Seasons begin and end. The point is not permanence. The point is faithfulness in the hours given. You are allowed to speak your part and then become quiet. You are allowed to love your portion and not the whole stage. He baptizes with water, he says, but one is coming who will baptize with the Spirit. The distinction is not a downgrade of John's gift, but a right description of scale. Water can touch skin and cool heat. Spirit can touch breath and birth new interior weather. When John's hands lower a person into the river, he is making space, clearing a path in the reeds. When Jesus comes, the path is traveled by love himself. If you feel small tonight, consider this. Smallness is not failure when it is spacious for God. A room doesn't have to be huge to hold rest. It only needs to be free of clutter. The next day, the riverbank is silver with morning, and John lifts his hand toward a figure walking along the water. His voice carries, but the tone is almost hushed, like a lullaby's last note. Behold, the Lamb of God. The words settle on the surface like feathers. He does not say, "Behold me, behold my effort, behold my resume." He names Jesus. Later he will explain it with a line that sounds like a window opening. He must increase, but I must decrease. You can carry that line into bed like a soft scarf. You can let it wrap your busy thoughts. You can decide, even here under the blankets, to let Christ's presence take up more room in you than the lists and comparisons. Decrease does not mean vanishing. It means becoming transparent enough that love is easier to see through you. There is a quiet art to pointing. Parents practice it when they kneel to a child's eye level and say, "Look." Teachers practice it when they move aside so a student can step forward and shine. Friends practice it when they celebrate another's gift without needing that gift to be theirs. John practices it with his whole life. If you have felt the pinch of envy or the small ache of being overlooked, let the riverbank be a gentle class. What if your joy is safest, not when you are the center, but when you are free from needing to be? The desert around the Jordan is not empty. It is uncluttered. That difference matters. Emptiness whispers of lack. Uncluttered space whispers of room to breathe. John chooses the wilderness because crowded cities cannot amplify his voice the way wide sky can. In your evening, uncluttered is available. Even if your room is not large, even if your day was noisy. A clear corner, a steady breath, a simple prayer. These are wildernesses, where God's voice can be heard more easily. You don't need to relocate to find rest. You can simplify enough to notice it. Water makes its small, faithful music at your ankles as you step a little nearer in imagination. You hear people confess quietly. I've been angry. I've been afraid. I've been carrying more than I can. John does not scold. He lowers each one under and lifts them into air again. Their clothes cling. Their burdens do not. They look different, not because their faces have changed, but because they're #meta, sex 0.05. They stand in the sun and close their eyes for a moment, as if tasting a future where love gets the last word. If a verse is needed to carry tonight, take only a sip. He must increase, but I must decrease. Let the words loosen the tight knots of performance and soften the edges of comparison. Let them bless the work you did and the work you couldn't do. Let them bless the person you are and the person you are becoming. Let them bless your sleep, where God keeps watch and you are allowed to rest without managing anything at all. The day slides toward evening on the river. John's shadow stretches long along the bank, and he lowers his hands, satisfied in the way that faithfulness satisfies, not with applause, but with peace. The wilderness breathes, the water keeps moving, and the one he is pointed to keeps walking toward the world, toward you, carrying a light that does not burn out and a mercy that does not run dry. You do not have to be the light. You get to be beloved in its glow. The first steps are always smaller than they feel. Two men hear John's quiet sentence by the river. Behold, the Lamb of God. And something inside them leans forward. They do not sprint. They drift after Jesus like leaves following a current, close enough to see dust rise from his sandals, near enough to hear how unhurried his breathing is. He turns. The afternoon is mild. The glance he gives them is not an interrogation. It is a welcome that feels like a door opening. "What are you seeking?" he asks, and the question is not a test, but an invitation to be honest. They answer with a different kind of question, awkward and sincere, the way people speak when their longing is bigger than their vocabulary. "Rabbi, where are you staying?" Not, "What can you give us?" but "Where can we be with you?" And Jesus, smiling the way a sunrise might smile, says, "Come and see." The words are simple enough to carry in a pocket. They do not demand a resume. They do not scold the past. They are a patient path laid like a hand across the shoulder, a gentle direction for tired feet. They go. The house is small, shadowed by the soft gold of late day. Inside, the air holds the ordinary scent of wood and bread. No trumpets, no ceremony, just presence. The kind that loosens a chest you forgot was tight. They sit and talk until the evening lays its blue blessing over the windows. Stories rise like small lamps. Childhood memories, fears that have followed them for years, hopes they hesitate to name aloud. Jesus listens the way water receives stones. No splash of surprise, no ripple of judgment, only widening circles of calm. One of the two, Andrew, keeps glancing at the door as if he has remembered someone who should not be left out of this belonging. He stands at last, almost reluctantly, as if to leave this room were to step out of a warm blanket. He finds his brother, Simon, where the day is still finishing its errands, and says the truest thing he has ever said. We have found the Messiah. There are sentences you practice. This was not one of them. It rose in him like a spring, clear and necessary. He leads Simon back quickly, the way people hurry toward good news. When Simon enters, Jesus does not appraise him like a merchant inspecting a net. He looks at him as though seeing both the fisherman and the shore he will one day stand upon. "You are Simon, son of John," he says, maiming the present with accuracy. And then he speaks a future as naturally as breathing. "You shall be called Cephas," Peter, the rock. The room does not shake. No chorus sings. But something in Simon settles, as if a restless boat has touched the right dock. A new name does not erase the old man. It anchors him to a steadier purpose. Sometimes you wonder who you will be in a year, or whether the person you have been is all you are allowed to be. In Jesus' gaze, identity is not a lock. It is a seed. The soil is love. The water is companionship. The light is the nearness of God. You are not trapped in yesterday's weather. You are being grown gently. Tonight, as your breath slows, imagine Jesus naming you with clarity and kindness. You are tired, yes. You are also becoming. You are worried, yes. You are also being woven into a steadier fabric. The next day brings movement again. Jesus deciding to go to Galilee, inviting Philip with the same spacious simplicity. "Follow me." Philip does what peace often does when it lands. He shares it. He finds Nathanael under a fig tree, where shade makes a small sanctuary in the heat. Nathanael is the friend who says what he thinks. When Philip blurts, "We found the one Moses and the prophets wrote about, Jesus of Nazareth," Nathanael raises an eyebrow. The armor of a heart that has waited long. Philip does not argue a thesis. He does not hustle or shame. He borrows Jesus' line and hands it to his friend like a cool cup. Come and see. The best invitations are repeatable. You do not have to invent eloquence when the truth itself is gentle. Nathanael stands, a little grudging, a little curious, brushing fig leaves from his shoulders. He walks, sandals tapping a soft rhythm on the packed earth, toward a meeting he does not know will change the texture of his days. Before Nathanael can speak, Jesus does. Here is a true Israelite in whom there is no deceit. He names the candor that others might have criticized. He blesses the unvarnished voice. Nathanael startles. "How do you know me?" And Jesus, with a smile like dappled light through leaves, answers, "I saw you under the fig tree before Philip called you." It is a small sentence and a seismic kindness. To be seen where we thought we were invisible. To be known where we believed we were ordinary. That is how trust begins to breathe. Nathanael's doubt melts as frost melts when the sun touches it. "Rabbi, you are the Son of God. You are the King of Israel." He says it with the delighted shock of someone whose name has just been pronounced rightly after many wrong attempts. Jesus does not scold him for needing a sign. He promises more. "You will see greater things than these." Rest rolls through Nathanael's shoulders. A greater things future does not demand frantic striving. It invites quiet companionship. The first circle is small. 2 who turned, a brother who hurried, a skeptic who saw. No spotlight, no platform, only walking, listening, eating simple meals, watching the way Jesus watches people. The rhythm is far gentler than the world's pace, and therefore more sustainable. They are not auditioning, they are apprenticing to love. Some nights they will not understand him. Some mornings they will sax 0.05. He will remain patient. Still, he will repeat, "Come and see," in 100 forms, until it becomes their inner soundtrack. If you fear failing God, consider this. The first disciples were not chosen for their flawless constancy, but for their willingness to be with him. Being with is the school where becoming like happens. You do not have to prove your worth tonight. You can simply move your chair closer to his table in your imagination. Hear the cup set down, the bread broken, the small laughter shared. Notice how peace seldom announces itself with fireworks. It shows up like steam from tea, a warmth in the hands that slowly reaches the heart. There's a tenderness in how Jesus speaks to beginnings. "What are you seeking?" he asks. Because beginnings are shaped by desire. Let your answer be unpolished and true. I want rest. I want a love I cannot lose. I want a name that isn't anxiety. I want to stop performing. I want to be brave enough to be gentle. None of these disqualify you. All of these draw him nearer. Underneath every want is the deeper blessing of being wanted by God first. If you carry a phrase into sleep, let it be this pair that has already held so much. What are you seeking? And come and see. As you breathe out, release the long list of outcomes you cannot control. As you breathe in, receive the nearness you did not have to earn. Somewhere beyond your window, night is arranging its stars. Somewhere within you, the same Maker arranges tomorrow with mercy. For now, it is enough to take a small step, then another, quiet, companioned, unafraid. A village wakes to celebration the way a garden wakes to dew, quietly, thoroughly. Cana's lanes fill with neighbors carrying baskets and laughter. Doors breathe open and shut. Ribbons of cooking smoke climb the morning and vanish. You can almost feel the happiness underfoot, steady as packed earth. A wedding is a promise stretched like a garland across 2 lives, and the whole town has come to keep it from slipping. Music tunes itself in the courtyard. Clay jars line the wall, ordinary and patient. In this place of simple joy, worry is not invited, and yet, as often happens in the holiest hours, worry finds a way to the threshold. Jesus is there, a guest who never takes the most visible chair. His mother is there too, moving with the practiced ease of someone who has fed many crowds and solved many small emergencies. She notices, before others do, the quiet panic in the steward's eyes, the whispers threading the edges of the courtyard, the way a servant hurries and then slows as if walking could create more wine. The celebration has a pulse, and she can hear it begin to stutter. The wine is running low. Running low is a feeling you know. Patience running low, courage running low. Hope like a glass with only a sip left. At the edges of your day, there are moments that taste like lack. The mother of Jesus does not dramatize. She does not wring her hands. She brings the lack to the one she trusts most. "They have no more wine," she says. It is not a demand, it is a statement, a prayer without adjectives, the kind that leaves room for love to choose its way. Jesus answers with words that can sound distant on the page. "My hour has not yet come." But in his tone there is no harshness. He is always listening for the Father's timing, the way a musician listens for the true key. His mother hears more than the sentence. She hears the compassion underneath, the willingness shaped by wisdom. Turning to the servants, she gives the instruction that has steadied many hearts since that day. Do whatever he tells you. Such plainness, such trust. No blueprint, no forecast, only obedience shaped like open hands. Stone jars stand nearby, large enough to hold the needs of a feast. They are not glamorous, they are meant for washing, for the ordinary work of making guests comfortable. Jesus tells the servants to fill them with water. It is a strange command if you are fretting about wine. It is, however, exactly the kind of command that teaches a soul to breathe again. Something small, tangible, doable. Not solve the party, fill the jars. One pitcher after another, the servants lift and pour, until each jar brims. They have no idea they are drawing close to a miracle. They only know they are finishing a task. You too know the feel of filling jars that seem unrelated to your fear. Washing dishes when your mind worries. Sending the kind text when your heart aches. Keeping a small promise to yourself when the larger story still feels uncertain. These are not detours, they are participation. Grace often asks you to do the next right, gentle thing, while God does the holy, hidden thing. Now draw some out, Jesus says, and take it to the master of the banquet. The servants obey, hands steady though their thoughts must be noisy. The steward tastes, pauses, looks at the bridegroom with an incredulous smile that begins in the eyes and spills into the voice. Everyone brings out the choice wine first, he says, laughter rising like a chord. And then the cheaper wine after the guests have had plenty. But you have saved the best till now. The courtyard exhales. Music lifts again. Conversation resumes its warm river. Joy returns to its seat, not as a guest, but as a host. The Gospel calls this the first of Jesus' signs, a quiet overflow for a family whose names we do not know. in a village whose fame would never reach the next empire. The miracle is domestic, celebratory, grounded in the goodness of keeping a promise well. It tells you something gentle and necessary. God is not embarrassed to be lavish in small places. He is not reluctant to gladden an ordinary table. He is not waiting for you to become important before he becomes generous. Notice how no one in the crowd understands the choreography, except the servants who carried water and the mother who carried trust. That is often how it is. Those who serve see the backstage mercy. Those who move quietly with Jesus become historians of hidden grace. If you have served in small rooms, if you have carried cups unnoticed, if you have felt the ache of invisibility, let Cana place a ribbon on your shoulders. Heaven keeps careful record of hidden obediences, and sometimes, as here, lets you taste the best wine first. What changed the water? Not frenzy, not panic, not the pressure of scarcity. It was presence. It was the kindness of Jesus moving through ordinary vessels. The jars did not argue about their purpose. They offered it. The servants did not demand an explanation. They participated. You do not need to understand every step to be woven into God's abundance. You need only to stay near and say yes to the small instruction that comes next. If you carry a sip of scripture into sleep, let it be Mary's sentence to the servants. Do whatever he tells you. The words are not a riddle. They are a door you can always open. Some nights what he tells you will be simple. Drink water. Turn off the screen. Choose gentleness. Forgive yourself for being finite. Some mornings it will be specific. Make the call. Write the email. Apologize first. Take the walk. In all of it, sex meta. The last guests step into starlight. Laughter becomes a memory the walls hold. But the sign remains, not as a museum piece, but as a pattern. When your peace runs low, when your resilience tilts toward empty, when you cannot imagine joy refilling the room, bring the lack to Jesus. Tell him plainly, fill what you can fill. And watch for the quiet moment when the ordinary becomes the vessel of something exquisite and unexpected. Let your breath be the pouring now. In, out, steady as men at the well. Let the weight in your chest be lifted as if by unseen hands. If you are waiting on a miracle, you are allowed to rest before it comes. Miracles are not accelerated by exhaustion. If you are living inside a miracle already, you are allowed to rest within it. Joy is not diminished by sleep. The same Lord who kept a celebration from embarrassment keeps watch over you without ceasing. The courtyard empties. The moon carries its silver bowl across the sky. Somewhere a servant smiles to remember the taste that surprised him, and Mary gathers her shawl with the peacefulness of one whose trust was well placed. Jesus steps out into the cool night, The first sign behind him, many steps ahead, and a tenderness for ordinary people folded into his heart. Follow him with your breathing. Follow him with your rest. The best is not behind you when he is near. It is present, saved for now. Jerusalem rises like a memory at the edge of the hills, stone upon stone, sun on limestone. Narrow streets opening suddenly into wide courtyards. Pilgrims climb with songs under their breath, the way a child hums when heading home. The temple stands at the heart of all this movement, not as a museum, but as a meeting place. Dust from many roads, settling on a single holy floor. In the air, lambs bleating, doves cooing, sandals shuffling, vendors calling, coins clinking like tiny hammers against the day. It is meant to be a house of prayer. Tonight, as you breathe more slowly, imagine stepping there with Jesus, letting his pace set yours, learning again what sacred space is for. The outer courts were designed for welcome, for the traveler who did not speak the local tongue, for the tired and the curious, for those who came from far countries with grief and a handful of hope. But the welcome has narrowed. The walkways have become aisles. Mercy has been crowded by margins. Men sit at tables, not to offer bread, but to trade currency. The sound is not of sighs releasing into prayer, but of bargaining. The sacred has been wrapped in sails. The room where gentleness should echo now thrums with hurry. Jesus steps into this noise with a calm that is not passive. He does not raise his voice to compete with the market. He raises the room to the pitch of his Father's heart. He plats a simple chord, work done without drama, tension gathered into purpose. Then he begins to clear space, tipping tables so coins spill like rain, loosening cages so wings can find air, guiding animals toward the exits, where they can be what they are meant to be. He is not angry at worshippers. He is grieved for them. He is not furious at bodies. He is zealous for their rest. Take these things away, he said. Sacredness requires room. Prayer is not a product, it is a meeting. Healing is not a price set by brokers. It is the nearness of God moving without tolls or tickets. When the disciples see him, a line from the old songs rises in them like a familiar scent. Zeal for your house will consume me. Zeal here is not heat without wisdom. It is love refusing to let fatigue or greed redraw the blueprint of belonging. Imagine for a moment your own inner courtyards. Over time, even the heart that loves God can fill with small stalls, shoulds and sales, the if-onlys, and as soon as I, that promise peace later for a fee now. Comparison sets up a booth. Perfectionism lays out its scales. Hurry sells tickets to a show that never starts. Jesus does not condemn you for the clutter. He enters to clear it. He does not shame, he rearranges. He lifts the tables of metrics, lets the coins scatter and roll until they are lost under the edges, pulls back the curtains where self-judgment hid, and leads the animals of restless habits toward the door. He tells the merchants to leave, but he tells the weak to stay. The court becomes quieter, not empty. In the new hush, a few people who had been standing at the edges step forward. A woman with a tremor in her hands. A man with knees that never seem to hold. A child with a cough that worries his mother. The air is easier to breathe when coins stop arguing with one another. Jesus' eyes soften. This is what the courtyard is for. The unhurried welcome of God. The slow mending of what life has frayed. Some protest. They ask for credentials, for a sign that explains the disruption and justifies the gentleness. He answers in a sentence that will take time to understand. Destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up. They look at today's gift is simpler. Space to pray, room to breathe, a table reset for mercy. If you have felt your prayers crowded by noise, notifications, obligations, the hum of interior commerce, let him clear your court tonight, not by force, but by friendship. Ask him to tip what needs tipping, to quiet what needs quieting, to escort out what does not belong. You may feel a quick panic as the old clatter stills. That is normal. The body is used to noise. But after a few breaths, peace begins to grow where silence has been protected. The mind stops bargaining. The shoulders remember how to lengthen and lower. The soul sits down. The temple stories sometimes get told as if Jesus were only fire. But stay long enough, and you notice the ember glow beneath the flame. He is jealous for the poor to be able to pray without paying. He is jealous for you to be able to rest without asking permission from your resume. He is jealous for the stranger to be able to stand at the edge and still feel welcomed to the center. Zeal is love with sleeves rolled up, guarding the gentle so it can continue to be gentle. A brief verse to keep near your lamp. My house shall be called a house of prayer. When markets crowd your mind, say it quietly. My house, the inner rooms God inhabits, shall be a house of prayer. Not a stock exchange of anxieties, not a courtroom of self-indictments, not a stadium of applause chasing. A house of prayer. A place where presence is the furniture and breath is the rhythm of the day. The disciples will remember this moment for years. Each time they entered a noisy city, each time a crowd pressed too close, they would glance at Jesus and watch his face. Is it time to make a whip of chords again? Or time to sit and tell stories? He would show them that both actions can be love. There is love #meta. Sex 0.05. If you need a picture for sleep, imagine the courtyard after the noise has gone thin. The stones are warm from the day. A stray coin gleams in a crack, forgotten and harmless. Doves shift in the rafters and then grow still. A group of strangers kneel near a column and whisper thanks. Jesus leans against a pillar, not tired of you, only content that you can finally hear. He does not hurry you along. He lets your prayer be slow as dusk. Let your breath become the housekeeping, in to gather, out to release. In to notice presence, out to let go of purchase. You do not have to buy your way into God's attention. You already have it. You do not have to manufacture holy. Holiness is given and shared. You do not need to perform peace. Peace plants itself when room is made. And room is being made now. The tables inside you, the ones that demanded tribute from your joy, are loosening their legs. The cages where small hopes flapped against wire are opening. The uninvited merchants, the ones who sold you the story that worth equals output, are packing quietly and leaving through the gate. The house is becoming a house again. The rescuer is unrolling a mat, lighting a lamp, setting out bread. Rest in the cleared space. The floor is for kneeling or sleeping. Both are prayers. If words come, let them be few and true. If no words come, let silence pray for you. Either way, you are in a place designed for nearness, not noise, for healing, not hurry, for the company of God, not the commerce of fear. Remain here as long as you like. The door will not close. The light will not go out. Night is the friend of questions. It draws the curtains around a house and around a heart, making a small, safe room where thoughts can speak honestly. In Jerusalem, lamps glow behind shutters, and streets cool beneath the hush of late hours. A man named Nicodemus moves through the lanes with the care of someone who has carried responsibility for a long time. He is a teacher, respected and careful, the sort of man who knows where each passage of Scripture lives, who can quote laws and trace lineages. But tonight, he is not a teacher rehearsing answers. He is a seeker, carrying new questions, warm and breathing. He finds the house where Jesus is staying. The door is not grand, but it is open. Inside, the light is gentle, just enough to outline faces and hands, just enough to soften the room. Nicodemus begins with courtesy, with reverence even. He has seen signs that do not fit inside the categories he has kept tidy for years. "Rabbi," he says, "we know you are a teacher come from God." His tone is careful, but his eyes are the eyes of a child who wants to know how to climb a tree. He wants to understand the wind that has started to move through his certainties. Jesus hears the compliment and the ache beneath it. He does not perform for the compliment. He answers the ache. He speaks of a new birth, not the kind that rearranges records, but the kind that rearranges interior weather. "You must be born from above," he says, not as a demand, but as a description of the life Nicodemus has begun to taste. Newness is not self-improvement to Jesus. It is breath given, a life received rather than contrived. Nicodemus, who has spent a lifetime making things clear, cannot resist the honest question that rises next. How can this be? Not cynical, curious. Not combative, hungry. The teacher becomes a student without shame. Jesus points to the wind moving in the night. The wind blows where it wishes, he says, inviting Nicodemus to listen. Outside, a palm frond shivers, a rooftop reed whispers, dust lifts and settles. You hear its sound, but you cannot tell where it comes from or where it is going. The line is both explanation and permission. Some holy things can be heard and felt long before they can be diagrammed. If you have ever wished to map your way to rest, to diagram peace as if it were a sentence with predictable punctuation, Nicodemus is good company. He reminds us that God welcomes careful minds and cautious hearts. He does not require that you abandon intellect to enter faith. He asks that you allow love to keep surprising you beyond the borders of certainty. Birth, after all, is not accomplished by the one being born. It is received with bewildered gratitude, and then growth requires nourishment and time. Jesus speaks of an old story Nicodemus knows, the bronze serpent lifted in the wilderness when people were sick with their own choices, and how looking up brought healing. He does not drag shame into the room. He lifts a mercy into view. So the Son of Man must be lifted up, he hints, that everyone who believes may have life. The room seems to stretch to include a future hill and a cross silhouetted against a bruised sky. Nicodemus does not understand it yet, but something in him recognizes the shape of a rescue. A pause, and Jesus says the sentence that has tucked so many tired people into sleep. God so loved the world. Just that much is enough to relieve the jaw, to loosen the fists. Loved the world, not the cleaned-up version of it, not the world once it has earned its rest, but the world as it is, uneven, rushed, beautiful, broken, beloved. Nicodemus breathes differently after those words. Perhaps you can too. God loved the world, and therefore you, enough to give, enough to come near, enough to make light where there was only night. Nicodemus carries many lanterns in his mind, but this is a different sort of light. It does not glare. It warms. Jesus speaks of light and of coming in. People hide in shadow for all sorts of reasons. Embarrassment, uncertainty, habit. But the invitation is not fix yourself in the dark. The invitation is step into light and be healed. Nicodemus is not scolded for arriving at night. The night simply becomes the classroom where light is explained. Consider your own night. The day you lived may have been full of useful correctness, tasks checked, rules kept, knowledge applied. And yet, at bedtime, a gentle question hums beneath the lists. Do I know how to be new? The gospel offers an answer kindness can carry. You do not cause your own sunrise. You consent to it. You do not manufacture the wind. You raise a sail. You do not rehearse your own rebirth. You receive it, sometimes in a whisper, sometimes in a sudden clarity that makes you both quiet and brave. Nicodemus listens while the lamp makes a small gold pool on the table. He is weighing old categories against this new song. He thinks of law as a fence that keeps a meadow safe. He thinks of spirit as weather that makes the meadow live. Perhaps both are true, Jesus seems to say. But the fence does not create grass. It only surrounds it. Life must be given. And the giver is here, speaking softly, present enough to notice the dust on the windowsill and the weight of questions on a respected man's shoulders. When you cannot explain what is happening inside you, when something wants to loosen and something wants to hold, remember the wind. Remember the lamp pool. Remember the kindness in Jesus' tone. He does not force answers down a throat. He lays them on the table like bread. He speaks of love that arrives before you perform, of a rescue that lifts you rather than requiring that you climb, of a birth that begins in God's design. Metta, bringing spices to a broken body with a reverence learned in this room. This is what night conversations do. They seed tomorrows with courage. You do not have to wake fully understanding. You only have to wake more willing to be remade by love than to be managed by fear. If a single line is needed to rest inside your breathing, let it be the one that opened the window for Nicodemus. God so loved the world. Repeat it slowly, removing hurry from each word. God so loved the world. Then whisper your name as a small world within the larger one, and let the sentence include you without argument. Under the weight of that love, anxiety loosens its knot. Under the warmth of that love, shame loses its script. Under the patience of that love, tomorrow ceases to be a cliff and becomes a path. The lamp burns lower. Outside, the wind passes, and leaves settle into a silence that is deeper than explanation. Jesus watches Nicodemus with a fondness that does not fade when the door closes. In the hallway, the teacher places a hand on the wall for a moment, steadying himself in the face of a gentleness stronger than any force he has known. He steps into the night not with all the answers, but with a new air in his lungs. Let your own breathing match that new air. In as gift, out as release, in as welcome, out as surrender. You are not trying to earn dawn. You are letting light approach. You are not earning a second birth. You are yielding to the one who delights to give it. Rest now in the house where answers are kind and questions are safe, and love is the first and final word. Midday light pools on the stones like spilled milk, bright and unblinking. Most people have finished the morning's work and gone indoors to the shade. The road lies quiet, except for a few travelling feet and the small songs of insects praising what is. In this still hour, a woman walks alone toward a well older than the arguments of her town. Her jar is the familiar weight she can bear. The silence is a kind of shelter. No one expects cheerfulness from someone carrying empty things at noon. Jacob's well waits just beyond the low wall, the way a faithful friend waits who will not speak until spoken to. She lowers the jar to rest beside the stones and wipes her forehead with the back of her hand. The sun has carved the shade into thin slivers. The heat has turned the air to slow honey. She is used to arranging her day around avoidance. Avoid the morning crowds. Avoid the eyes that remember too precisely. Avoid the questions that dress themselves as concern. A life can get small this way. Manageable, perhaps, but small. A man sits by the well. He looks travel-worn in the way honest pilgrims do, not performing piety, only tired from real miles. His posture is restful without being guarded, as if he has nothing to protect and everything to give. He asks for a drink. The request is simple, human, uncomplicated. And yet it crosses old lines the woman has learned by heart. She wonders what he wants beyond water. Men usually want something beyond what they ask. She keeps her voice even and her story intact, like a basket balanced on her head. How is it that you, a Jew, ask me, a Samaritan woman, for a drink? The man's eyes are not sharp with debate. They are clear with kindness. He answers in a way that turns the conversation from boundary to blessing. If you knew the gift of God, he says gently, and who it is that asks you for a drink. The phrase is like a breeze that finds a house with closed windows and lifts the curtains anyway. Living water, not the usual bucket that runs out, not the usual story that repeats. Something from beyond the weary cycle of thirst and draw, thirst and draw. She glances into the well's dark circle, into the throat of the earth that has swallowed rope and echoed back relief for generations. "Sir, you have nothing to draw with," she says, practical, cautious, not yet ready to yield to poetry. "The well is deep. Where will you get this living water? Are you greater than our ancestor Jacob?" What she means, perhaps, is, I have learned to depend on what I can control. This rope, this jar, this path at noon. Can your promise live in the desert of my experience? He does not belittle her practicality. He honors what she knows, and then offers what she does not. Everyone who drinks this water will be thirsty again, he says, his hand indicating the stone lip they share. But whoever drinks the water I give will never thirst. Indeed, it will become in them a spring, a quiet interior fountain, welling up to eternal life. The words do not scold her emptiness. They imagine it filled, until filling is her nature. She holds the thought like a cold cup to a parched tongue. Something inside unclenches an inch. "Sir, give me this water," she says, longing peeking out from her caution, "so that I won't get thirsty and come here to draw again." She does not know that the path she dreads will become the path she runs with joy before the afternoon ends. For now, desire is enough truth. Desire is good truth. Desire names the ache God has been listening to for years. Go, call your husband and come back, he says, not to expose her, but to meet her where the pain has been organizing her life. I have no husband, she answers simply. The man nods as though she has told the most respectable truth. You're right, he says. The loss. The man whose presence does not equal belonging. He speaks without a single ounce of contempt. In his mouth, her past is not ammunition. It is context. He is not interested in winning an argument. He is interested in healing a person. Sir, I see that you are a prophet, she says, because when someone knows you truly and does not flinch, the soul recognizes holiness. With honesty opened, she asks the question that has divided her world. Where should we worship? This mountain or that city? Our fathers say here, your teachers say there. It is a real question, and also a way of asking the deeper one. Where does someone like me belong? He answers with a tenderness that sounds like the future. The hour is coming, and now is, when true worshippers will worship the Father in spirit and in truth. Not on this ridge or that street alone, but wherever hearts stand honest and open before the one who already loves them. The Father seeks such people. Think of that. Seeks. Not screens or sorts or shames. Seeks. The woman could lie down on that word and sleep for a year. I know that Messiah is coming, she says at last, testing hope in a place where hope usually burns the fingers. When he comes, he will explain everything. Then Jesus, still and shining as a quiet stream at noon, says the line that both completes and begins her. I, the one speaking to you, am he. The world around them remains the same. The stones do not applaud. The sky does not split. The jar still waits. But inside her, a fence falls and a meadow opens. The disciples return just then, hands full of lunch, minds full of categories. They are surprised, but do not say so aloud. The woman leaves her jar, the practical, necessary jar, and runs. Some releases cannot be managed. See a man who told me everything I ever did, and did not condemn me. Could this be the Messiah? People look up from their tasks. They know her. They know the hours she has kept and the silences she has woven. They follow, curious to see what kind of truth makes a person lighter instead of smaller. Back at the well, the disciples urge Jesus to eat, as if hunger were his only weather. He smiles and shakes his head. I have food to eat that you do not know about, he says, meaning the joy of doing his Father's will, of rescuing a heart and, through her, a village. One by one, they arrive and listen. Jesus stays 2 days, an extravagant kindness for people long told they were the wrong kind. He answers questions without condescension. He receives thanks without collecting trophies. He gives water that becomes water. The woman watches faces soften and shoulders lower. She hears the sentence that will sing in her for years. We no longer believe just because you said. We have heard for ourselves, and we know that this man really is the Savior of the world. If you carry a verse into sleep tonight, let it be a sip, not a flood. Whoever drinks the water I give will never thirst. Whisper it like a lullaby to the parts of you that have trudged to wells at noon. Imagine an inner spring, not dramatic, not loud, steady. Imagine the jar you have leaned on, sitting quietly by the stones while you run, unburdened, toward whatever good news your life will now carry. Your room may be dim, your day imperfect, your history mixed. The Lord who rested at Jacob's well rests beside your bed with the same patience. He knows exactly why you avoid certain hours and certain eyes. He knows how honesty makes your heart feel both naked and meta. But as often as you come thirsty, morning finds the city rubbing sleep from its eyes, vendors lifting shutters, birds stitching small songs into the blue. Just inside one of Jerusalem's gates lies a place that holds its breath. The pool called Bethesda. Porches surround it like gentle arms, 5 long colonnades of shade where time has learned to stretch. Here, people wait. They wait with bandaged limbs and careful hopes, with quiet conversations and the silence that pain teaches. Water reflects a slice of sky between pillars. On its surface, the light wavers as if the day itself were practicing tenderness. Among the many is a man who has been unwell longer than some neighborhoods have stood, longer than the olives have been pressing their fruits. 38 years of almosts and not yets. He knows the sound of sandals on stone and the way footsteps slow around suffering, then pass. He has watched seasons turn and friends leave, and hope thin and thicken again. When he sleeps, his body remembers what it cannot do. When he wakes, he lifts his gaze to the water and hopes for a kindness he cannot reach alone. Stories have grown around this pool, whispers of stirred water, of sudden healings, of desperate rushing to the edge when a ripple appears. The man has tried to be quick, but quickness belongs to others. Without someone to lift, to carry, to share the weight of his waiting, he stays where he is while the water calms and the promise dissolves into the heat. Between one attempt and the next, the day is long. Jesus steps into this slow geography without fanfare. He does not lecture the porches. He walks among them, seeing each face the way a gardener sees each plant, by name, by need. He comes to the man who has learned the angle of shade by heart, and asks a question that sounds simple until you try to answer it. Do you want to be well? The words land softly, but they are not small. Do you want past habit, because stories hold the shape of our days. "Sir, I have no one to help me into the pool. While I am trying to get in, someone else goes down ahead of me." It is not an excuse. It is a truth. Isolation is its own illness. Jesus does not debate the legend of stirred water. He does not blame the legs that refuse. He speaks the sentence that will reshape the man's mourning and his memory. "Get up, take up your mat, and walk." The words arrive not as pressure, but as power. Something beneath the man's skin remembers its original instructions. Ankles wake, knees unlearn their caution. Muscles hear their names called and respond, surprised and grateful. He stands. For a heartbeat, he is a child again, wobbling on new balance, then steadies into a vertical he has not known in years. The mat that once held him becomes something he holds, rolled under his arm like proof of friendship. He takes a step, then another, 5 steps, then 10. Small, honest miracles, each one carrying him farther from the porch and deeper into the day. You can hear the quiet astonishment ripple through the colonnades. A woman smiles without meaning to. A boy claps his hands and then hides them behind his back. An older man nods as if to say, "Yes, this is what kindness looks like." The healed man walks the length of a life he thought was forever short. The sun warms his face with a greeting he can meet standing up. He does not rush. Haste is not required in joy. He learns again how tall the world is when you are upright. It happens to be the Sabbath, and the city carries its usual mixture of reverence and rules. Some who notice him see not mercy, but threat to order. They ask about the mat in his arm, because sometimes systems fear signs that love has moved without their permission. The man answers the only way he can. "The one who made me well said, 'Take up your mat and walk.'" "Who told you this? Where is he?" Later, in a quieter hallway of the temple, Jesus finds him again, because healing is not abandonment. "See, you are well," he says, joy tucked into the corners of his mouth. Then, with the gentleness of a father straightening a collar before a child steps outside, he adds a guidance for the road ahead. Move away from what harms you. Choose the path that keeps you free. The man nods, a little overwhelmed, as if holding 2 gifts at once: new strength in his legs and new wisdom in his heart. The pool remains. The porches remain. The waiting remains. For others, for another day. But this man's timing has met mercy's timing, and the intersection has become a doorway. If you have waited long on answers, on relief, on the right words arriving in the right tone, let Bethesda be a soft lesson in the patience of God. Not every delay is neglect. Sometimes the slow hours are the porch where courage grows, the shaded place where you learn to recognize the voice that will call you when the hour is kind. Notice that Jesus' question touches desire before duty. Do you want to be well. Let it visit your own rooms, beneath the habits that have organized your days, beneath the stories you have needed to tell to survive, beneath the arrangements you have made to manage loneliness. What do you want? To be less afraid, to sleep through the night, to forgive and be forgiven, to live without the old ache defining every plan. Desire is not a threat to God. It is a door He loves to walk through with you. And consider the mat. It is not trash now. It is testimony. The very thing that once announced limitation becomes evidence of freedom. You do not need to burn your past to be new. You can carry it rightly, rolled, lighter. Not hash meta. Sax tells the truth and walks on. If a short verse is needed to sleep beside, choose the one that held and holds. Take up your mat and walk. Hear it without hurry. Take up what once held you. Your mat, your exact story, not someone else's. And walk, not sprint, not perform. Walk. One quiet, sustainable step after another. Healing is seldom a spectacle. It is a new rhythm entering the bones. It is learning the courtyard's distance, the hallway's turn, the path home. The pool's surface goes on mirroring sky. Some days will still hold waiting, even for the healed. Because the world is wide and wounds are many. Yet the healer moves through porches and neighborhoods with the same unforced compassion. He does not measure your worth by your speed. He honors small steps, the pause to find balance, the sitting down when sitting is wisdom, the standing again when standing is possible. He is neither surprised by your fatigue nor stingy with His strength. Let your breathing practice this new gait. In, receiving. Out, releasing. In, get up. Out, and walk. If you cannot yet stand, let standing be imagined. If you can stand, let walking be gentle. If your mat is still under you, know this. The voice that called the man has not grown hoarse. He knows where you are. He knows how long it has been. He is not late when love is leading. Night will come, and the porches will cool again, and stars will lay their small lamps on the water. Somewhere, footsteps will sound where they did not sound yesterday. Somewhere, gratitude. Afternoon leans toward evening on a broad hillside overlooking the lake, the water wearing late sun like a gentle cloak. People have followed Jesus here in a long, weaving ribbon, mothers with tired shoulders, fathers with calloused hands, elders who walk with careful steps, children who skip and then collapse laughing in the grass. Curiosity brought some, hunger brought others, and a nameless hope carried the rest. The air smells of fresh water and wild thyme crushed under sandals. Above, swallows draw quick calligraphy against a blue that seems to grow deeper by the minute. Jesus sits with his friends a while, watching the crowd settle into little circles, neighbors next to strangers, strangers becoming neighbors. He asks a question that is both practical and tender. How shall we feed them? It is the sort of question love asks not to spark panic, but to invite participation. His friends count coin and calculate distance. The numbers do not add up. Markets are far, money is thin, and dusk is coming with its soft insistence. A boy tugs at a sleeve. He has a small basket a mother likely packed that morning. 5 loaves, 2 fish. A lunch sized for a growing appetite, not an army of needs. Andrew notices the boy and his open hands. Here is a child with 5 barley loaves and 2 small fish, he says, honesty and helplessness braided in his voice. But how far will they go among so many? A good question. A human question. The day answers with wind moving lightly over the grass. The lake hush-hushing at the shore. The quietness that comes when possibility stands in a doorway. Have the people sit down, Jesus says. Keep that line like a soft refrain. Before abundance, rest. Before distribution, receive. A posture of peace. The hillside becomes an unplanned dining room. Cloaks unfurl into picnic cloths. Children lean against parents or lie on their backs to watch clouds drift like friendly ships. Jesus, he breaks and gives, an unhurried rhythm that seems to teach the very air how to breathe slower. The baskets move. At first, people take politely, the way you do when you fear there will not be enough. Then politeness dissolves into amazement as portions do not shrink but seem to swell. Laughter appears. Conversation, tentative at first, grows warm. Fish tastes better beside gratitude. Bread tastes sweeter when it arrives as gift. There is no sermon in this moment, only sustenance. Preaching done with crumbs in the beard and smiles on tired faces. If you have ever looked at your resources and felt sorrow at their smallness, take a seat on this grass in your imagination. Watch how little becomes enough, not by denial of the need, but by the companionship of God with the need. The boy does not give a theory, he gives lunch. Jesus does not demand what the boy does not have. He blesses what he does. Have the people sit down. Rest first, then receive, then share. When bellies are full and bodies lean into the relief that follows simple food, Jesus says another sentence you might carry into the week. Gather the fragments that remain so that nothing is lost. And so they do. They move across the hillside with baskets, collecting crusts and pieces, small loaves of leftover grace. 12 baskets, the story says, more at the end than at the beginning, as if generosity has a way of echoing itself into surplus. The fragments matter. In the kingdom, leftovers are not failures of planning. They are evidence of abundance. Nothing offered is wasted. Not an unnoticed kindness, not a quiet prayer, not a hidden hour of caregiving, not a weary yes. Consider your own fragments, half-finished projects, small victories, efforts that seemed too small to name. What if the tears you thought disappeared into your pillow have been kept, like rain in a cistern, to water something you cannot yet see? The crowd begins to feel the electricity of miracle, a heat that can quickly turn to clamor. Some want to seize Jesus and make him their kind of king, one who multiplies bread on command, keeps bellies full, and settlements secure. He retreats to the mountain alone, because he has not come to be pressed into our preferred shapes. He has come to teach our hunger a deeper song. The disciples gather the last baskets and watch the light sliding toward the lake's far edge. Night will soon ask for lamps. The hillside remembers the bodies that sat, and the hands that passed bread, and the words that smoothed worry into rest. Have the people sit down. Gather the fragments. Hold that command again. Sit down. We often stand to solve and strain to supply. But here, in the first lesson of abundance, rest becomes the first obedience. Sit. Because standing in anxiety will not multiply anything but dread. Sit. Because seated hearts notice the person beside them and pass the basket more kindly. Sit. Because God loves to give to people who are not performing for the gift. Then hold the second. Gather. Anxiety tosses scraps away. Gratitude stoops to collect them. Anxiety says, "What are these few crumbs against so many needs?" Gratitude says, "These crumbs are my next meal or someone else's." Anxiety doubts the worth of little. Gratitude knows the arithmetic of heaven begins at small and arrives at more than enough. If a line of scripture will help you fall asleep, make it this pair of quiet instructions. Have the people sit down and gather the fragments so that nothing is lost. Speak them to your evening. Have your racing thoughts sit down. Have your clenched shoulders sit down. Shat meta. The laughter you almost missed. Put them in a basket and carry them into tomorrow. On the lake, a breeze rises. The last children tumble after one another, then yawn and lean into their mother's sides. The disciples share glances that mean, "We did not know it could be like this." The boy with the empty basket, lighter now than when he carried it full, watches Jesus on the slope, his silhouette quiet against the sky. He will go home and try to explain, and words will fail in the holiest way. He will sleep without worrying whether the basket will be full again in the morning. He has learned a truer sequence: offer, rest, receive, share, gather, trust. Let your breath follow that sequence now. Offer, in, rest, out. Receive, in, share, out. Gather, in, trust, out. If you have only 5 loaves of attention and 2 fish of patience tonight, it is enough to bring. If you have only the hunger, even that is something to carry to Jesus. He has never been embarrassed by appetite. He was born into bodies to feed bodies and to teach souls that there is bread for every layer of us. The hillside cools, stars rehearse their entrances. Somewhere a small piece of bread is tucked into a pocket for later, and later comes, and it is sweet. The baskets rest against a wall, empty now, but somehow heavy with story. Sleep in that story. The God who counts fragments, who sits crowds down before he multiplies, who takes a child's offering seriously, who turns scarcity into a long, slow meal that ends with more hope than it began with. It will be enough for tonight. It will be enough for tomorrow when morning asks for courage again. Evening folds the hillside into shadow, and the lake gathers the sky, a wide mirror darkening at the edges. The disciples step into a small boat with the practiced motions of people who know wood and water. Hands on the gunnels, a push from the shingle, the hush of hull meeting depth. They are not in a hurry, only obedient to the next stretch of road that happens to be made of waves. Jesus has gone up the mountain to pray. They have learned not to clutch at his absence. Still, the air feels thinner without his nearness, as if the water itself were listening for his footsteps. The first strokes are easy. Oars dip and lift, catching the rhythm bodies remember from other nights. A lamp glows near the bow, a small coin of gold on dark water. Voices settle into gentle talk. Where to angle the bow, how far the far shore might be, whether the wind will stay kind. Then the wind turns. It does not arrive with drama, it arrives with decision, firming its hand on the face of the lake. Ripples stiffen to ridges, ridges grow shoulders. The boat begins to pitch, and conversation thins to the work of staying headed toward the other side. Wind has a way of finding the open places inside us. Old fears wake quickly, the kind learned in childhood, the kind inherited from stories, the kind that crouch behind competence, waiting for the right gust. Spray salts their faces. The lamp flickers and is cupped by a careful hand. Thomas braces a knee against the thwart. John squints into the night as if his eyes might coax a horizon from the dark. Someone counts strokes to keep rhythm steady. Someone murmurs a psalm to anchor the heart. They are not panicking, not yet. They are practicing every skill they have. And still the distance between their strength and the shore feels like a sentence. They have rowed 3 or 4 miles, far enough that going back is as hard as going on, when the storm raises its voice. The lake is not their enemy, but it is a wide, easily misunderstood when wind borrows its body. The little boat climbs and dips, climbs and dips. A cradle with rough hands on either side. The lamp's circle shrinks. The men keep to their work. Resolve is its own form of prayer. Then they see him. At first, it is only a suggestion where the lamp's circle meets the reach of night. Something pale on the black, a figure that doesn't agree with sea logic. They are fishermen, not fanciful men. They trust what boats and nets teach. Yet there he is, walking on the water as if the lake has remembered Eden and become a garden path. Fear flares not because he is frightening, but because the world has opened a door they forgot existed. Take heart, it is I. Do not be afraid. The words carry differently on water, as if the lake itself wants them. Each syllable touches the surface and softens it, then reaches the tired men and softens them too. The wind does not stop yet, but its teeth feel less sharp. The lamp steadies without anyone shielding it. Jesus draws nearer, not hurrying, the way peace never hurries. He looks at each face the way a shepherd looks at each sheep, counting, naming, noting where fear holds tight and where trust is starting to breathe again. No one is scolded for being human. No one is embarrassed for needing reassurance. He steps the last distance across the restless skin of the lake, and, with the simple grace of an old friend boarding a skiff, climbs in. The moment his foot finds the plank, the wind feels like a guest who has overstayed and remembers an appointment elsewhere. The water flattens into patience. The air loosens its fist. Breath returns to the boat like someone opening a window. For a heartbeat, no one speaks, because they are learning again what they learned on a hillside with bread. Presence is provision. He does not always. They look back, the way people do after a fear recedes, wondering how it grew so loud in so little time. They look forward, and this is a kindness John will never stop marveling at. The shoreline is suddenly there, not as a trick to impress them, but as a mercy now that the lesson has been learned. Fear is large at a distance. Near, love shrinks it until the path appears. One moment, miles. The next, pebbles grate the boat's belly, and shallows greet their ankles. The lamp, unnecessary, is pinched out, and night becomes friendly again. If your evening has wind in it, you are not alone. The mind can make whitecaps from a single thought, repeating it until it grows teeth. The body can become a boat that never quite sits level. You count strokes. You practice skills. You remember old psalms and whisper them into the dark. And still the shore seems far. In such nights, watch for the shape upon the water, the answer that does not fit the math of fear. It may not silence the storm immediately. It will speak you steady while the storm spends itself. Hear the sentence Jesus loves to say in rough weather. It is I. Do not be afraid. Keep only that fragment by your pillow if the rest feels heavy. It is I. Presence before solution. Do not be afraid. Not because danger is a fiction, but because you are accompanied. Courage in Scripture is rarely solitary. It grows from proximity. Boats and hearts become braver when someone climbs in. Notice, too, that He comes to them. He does not shout from the shore for them to improve their technique. He does not wait with crossed arms to measure their arrival time. He makes the distance a meeting place. We call it a miracle that he walks on water. Perhaps it is also a parable, that he will cross whatever separates us, even when what separates us is our own fear. He will not let weather have the last word about nearness. Slow your breathing if the memory of Sax 0.05, as if you are letting the wind go. In, it is I. Out, do not be afraid. There is a shoreline prepared for you. You do not need to plot it on a map before you can rest. You can rest because he is willing to make sudden shorelines when kindness requires it. If you want one small oar of scripture in your hand, hold this. Take heart. It is I. Don't be afraid. Say it slowly until the words turn from information to company. And if sleep comes while you are still between shores, let it come. He keeps watch in boats as readily as on mountains. He counts not only sheep, but the rise and fall of your chest. If fear wakes you, he is still in the boat. If morning wakes you, he is already ashore, building a small fire on damp sand, warming bread, turning an ordinary beach into a homecoming. For now, let the boat of your body grow quiet. Let the water inside your chest flatten into peace. Let the lamp of attention glow softer and then go out. Somewhere beyond your window, the night goes on, keeping its long, gentle promises. Somewhere beneath your worry, the one who can walk where you cannot is stepping near. The shoreline appears sooner than expected. You are carried farther than you know. And you, even in wind, are safe. Dawn arrives softly in Jerusalem, pale light unrolling along rooftops, pigeons shifting on ledges, shopkeepers lifting bolts from doors. In the temple courts, dust holds a silver edge where the sun first touches stone. Some mornings begin with prayers. This one begins with a trap disguised as righteousness. A cluster of men come quick as rumor, tugging along a woman whose eyes stay near the ground, as if the ground might be kinder than faces. They bring her to the center, as people widen a circle, curious and wary, hearts bracing for the sound that shame makes when it is made public. They speak loudly, so that their certainty will sound like justice. "Teacher," they say to Jesus, "this woman was caught in the act." Their words tilt like a scale that has already been weighted. "The law says," they continue, naming stones without touching them, making the crowd feel the roughness of what they imply. "What do you say?" It is less a question than a net. They want him snared in either leniency that looks lawless or severity that looks loveless. They want a spectacle. He answers with silence. Jesus does not stand taller to meet accusation. He kneels. He puts his finger to the dust. The sound is small, skin on grit, like a moth's wing against a window. Everyone watches the line his hand makes as if it might form a word. He draws nothing the eye can keep, but the body keeps the posture. God bending into human dirt. Love writing in the only place shame can't easily display. Time stretches. The men glance at one another, annoyed at quiet. Stones feel heavier when no one is shouting. They press him, words piling like wood. He lifts his head, and in his eyes is the calm that makes noise remember it is only noise. Let the one without sin throw the first stone. 9 words, and the courtyard changes temperature. Then something does. Not stones, but thoughts. The oldest among them, who have carried their own histories the longest, feel understanding arrive like weather. A hand loosens. A stone returns to earth without traveling. Then another. Then another. A soft chorus of thuds, as if the ground is receiving what hearts no longer can bear to hold. One by one they leave, sandals whispering away. First the elders, then the younger men who had practiced outrage like a craft. Outrage cannot survive long where truth and mercy sit together. The circle closes into quiet. Dust settles back onto the lines Jesus drew. The woman still stands, breath shallow, shoulders tense, the way a deer's body holds itself even after the threat has passed. She does not run. She waits for voice. Jesus straightens to see her at eye level. He has the gentleness of morning after a night storm. Air washed, sky clear, everything ordinary and newly safe. Woman, where are they? He asks. Not to mock, but to let her mouth form the miracle. She looks around, as if waking in a room that no longer matches her fear. No one, Lord, she says. The first time today she has addressed anyone with a title other than dread. He nods. Neither do I condemn you. Go, and from now on, leave that path. The words are not a shrug at harm. They are a rescue from it. Mercy is not a denial of weight. It is the stronger arm that carries it differently. She breathes in, discovering that oxygen tastes like forgiveness. Her hands, which had been fists without knowing, open. If she cries, the tears are quiet, the kind that come when a locked door finally swings back on its hinges. She does not need to explain herself. He isn't asking for spectacle. He is giving back a future. She walks away without the dragging sound shame makes, steps lighter than when she arrived, a body choosing direction instead of being thrown by it. The courtyard holds a silence that feels like blessed people who had come for a verdict receive a lesson instead, about the kind of holiness that kneels and writes in dust, about the kind of justice that loves the person more than the scene, about the kind of truth that returns stones to earth and gives a woman her name back. Somewhere, a dove lifts, and its wings lace the quiet with a soft applause. If you have ever stood in the middle of a day convinced that every eye knows your worst moment, you know this woman's heartbeat. If you have rehearsed your defense in case mercy fails to arrive, you know the tightness in her jaw. If you have memorized other people's laws so you can avoid their anger, you know the map she kept in her pocket. Hear the sentence that changed the air. Let the one without sin throw the first stone. It is not permission for harm. It is permission for humility. And hear the sentence that changed her life. Neither do I condemn you. It is not indulgence. It is invitation to become. Consider the stones in your own hands, not against others, perhaps, but against yourself. The phrases you keep for self-punishment, the names you call your own heart, the ways you try to atone by tightening, by shrinking, by enduring without relief. What if the ground is gentler than your grip? What if Jesus would rather hear the soft thud of those stones than another hour of you carrying them? You will still walk a wiser path. Mercy does not erase wisdom, but you can walk without bruising your own ribs with rocks meant for no one's chest. Notice also how Jesus protects the woman's dignity with posture. He does not stand above and point. He draws near and lowers himself. The God who could speak thunder writes in sand. He does not need to carve commandments again. He came to inscribe compassion on human nights. You might where love kneels beside your bed and draws nothing that the world can parade, only lines that disappear as quickly as shame does in the presence of kindness, a short verse to carry into sleep, only what your heart can hold without haste. Neither do I condemn you. Say it slowly, until the words decide to stay. Neither do I condemn you. Not because wrong is weightless, but because mercy is stronger. Not because the past is pretend, but because the future is possible. Then add the soft instruction that kept her free. Go in a new way. Freedom is not only release from stones, it is a path that keeps you far from where stones are lifted. Later that morning, Jesus will speak to those still gathered. I am the light of the world. But even before he says it, he has shown it. Light that reveals without shaming. Light that sends accusers home to consider their own hearts. Light that lets a woman lift her face. Light that writes in dust to remind us we are, all of us, made of that dust. Precious, fragile, still held. Let your breathing slow to the pace of that light. In, beloved. Out, free. In, neither do I condemn you. Out, go in peace. If your mind starts collecting evidence against you, picture the stones falling again, one by one, at your feet. If your chest tightens, picture a finger writing in the dust near your bed. Not a list of failures, but a quiet curve that means presence. You are not a spectacle here. You are a person invited to rest. When sleep comes, let it be the kind that arrives after a door has been unlocked. The day can keep its crowds and its arguments. The night belongs to the one who protects dignity, who dismantles traps, who turns. The morning after the courtyard quieted, lamps still glow in a few upper rooms, small islands of gold before day. Shopkeepers sweep thresholds. Children chase a rolling hoop. A widow ties back her hair and hums the same gentle song she hummed yesterday. In that ordinary world, Jesus stands and says a sentence that sounds like sunrise. I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will not walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. The words do not arrive like a shout. They arrive like a curtain drawn open, like a window unlatched for air. People feel the room change before they understand why. Light in his mouth is not a glare that exposes just to accuse. It is a presence that reveals so you can move without bruising your shins. It does not erase the street. It shows the stones so you do not stumble. Many of us have learned to walk by habit in dimness, feeling along walls, counting steps between familiar corners. Dimness is survivable. We are skilled at survival. Jesus is not content with your survival. He offers you sight, not the harshness that makes you squint, but the kind that makes edges kind and distances honest. Imagine the first time you stepped from a dark hallway into a room where a lamp was already lit. You did not become a better walker. You became a safer one, because light did its quiet work. Some who hear him feel warmed, others bristle. Light can feel like intrusion when we have made treaties with our shadows. Questions fly. Who are you to talk like this? Where is your witness? How can we trust your self-description? Jesus answers as one who carries home with him. He knows where he has come from and where he is going. His words do not lean on applause. They lean on the Father's delight. To those who want a courtroom, he offers a family table. To those who demand credentials, he offers companionship. Follow me, as if truth is clearest when you are near enough to watch love work. He speaks, too, about the pairing of truth and freedom. You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free, he tells those who linger to listen. Hear it slowly. In his voice, truth is not a blade first. It is a key. Keys turn, doors swing. Air moves where air has not moved in years. Some protest that they are already free. He answers gently about the kind of bondage that hides under respectable habits, the loops that tighten when we most need mercy, the vows we made to ourselves in fear. His words are not a scolding, they are an opening. He is not building a stricter maze. He is handing you a light, then pointing toward the exit with a smile that says, I will walk with you. Near the treasury, coins chime now and then like punctuation. People reach for the comfort of ancestry, Abraham's name like a protective cloak. Jesus does not dishonor their fathers. He widens the family. If you loved the Father, you would love the Son, for he comes carrying the Father's heart. He speaks of being lifted up, a phrase like the shadow of a cross falling forward in time. Light does not avoid the cost of loving. It carries it openly, and in carrying it, breaks the spell of darkness. Even the hint of that future shines backward into the present, and some who had bristled soften the way night softens when east begins to pale. If you have resisted rest because it meant switching on a lamp in a room you have avoided, hear this. Jesus' light is not a spotlight for shame. It is a lantern for your path. When he reveals, it is so you may walk, not wince. When he names, it is so you may be freed, not frozen. He will not flood you with more than you can bear. He brightens the next few steps, then the next. You are not being tested. You are being accompanied. You are not alone trying to memorize a map. You are with a guide who knows the way even when fog hangs low over the fields. Try a small practice tonight. Imagine a lamp on your bedside table that has no switch. It glows from within itself, steady as a star, kinder than noon. That lamp is the presence of Jesus. You can put your hand on the wood and feel warmth. You can turn your face toward it without fear of inspection. In its circle, the items of your day, keys, glasses, pen, phone, look manageable again. In his light, your tasks shrink to their proper size. None deserving worship, none demanding dread. The to-do that roared like a lion in the dark becomes a house cat in the light, still real, but no longer sovereign. People ask for proof. Light is its own proof. Walk by it and notice you stumble less. Sit in it and notice your jaw loosens. Bring a fear into it and notice the fear cannot grow as easily. The mind, in darkness, breeds monsters from coats on chairs. In light, the same shapes become jackets to be hung and errands to be planned. If you want a line to tuck under your pillow, keep only the first words for now. I am the light of the world. Do not rush to explain it. Let it explain you. Let it tell you that you are seen without being stared at, known without being handled, guided without being pushed. Jesus' light is not confined to holy rooms. It follows fishermen onto lakes, widows into kitchens, seekers onto rooftops, merchants to stalls, parents to doorways when dawn has barely decided to arrive. It moves through markets and funerals, over threshing floors and through children's laughter. You are not required to find a rare doorway to step into it. You are asked to open your attention, to lift your eyes, even a little, and notice where kindness is already catching dust in the air. He warns, too, that some prefer darkness because their works lean toward harm. He does not caricature them. He invites them. Even those who argue today may remember his eyes tomorrow. Even those who threaten now may come at night, widening when welcomed. If you have avoided a certain conversation with God because you fear what he will find, remember, he already sees. Light comes not to discover what is hidden from him, but to free what is hidden from you. Consider the ways you have tried to manufacture your own glow. Performance, perfection, the tight smile that says all is well when all is not. Such light is exhausting. It requires constant tending. Jesus offers a different radiance, borrowed and therefore sustainable. You do not need to be the lamp. You may be the window. Windows are honest about their limits. They let another's light through. Rest is easier for windows than for light bulbs. And when the weather outside is bleak, even then, windows remember the existence of morning. There is a moment, most evenings, when the sun, almost gone, drenches everything in benevolent gold. Pain does not disappear then. It softens. Anger does not vanish. It forgets its lines. That hour is a parable. Jesus' light does this within us at any time. It makes grief grievable and hope holdable. It makes confession less like a courtroom and more like a child coming home. It is not naive. It is honest and therefore restful. It names the broken boards on the porch and points to a carpenter who loves repair more than blame. If you carry Scripture into sleep, let it be this promise, small enough for a heartbeat and large enough for a lifetime. Whoever follows me will not walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. Whisper it from bed to window and back. Whisper it into the task you dread tomorrow. Whisper it when headlines press too hard and your timeline crowds your ribs. Then pause between each phrase. Meta, Sax 0.05. Not blocking any path, but bathing them all in direction. Some turn toward him at once, some pause and then come. Some step away and remember later at a sink or in a field, the way his face looked like morning. Light is like that, once known, always easy to find again. It does not shame those who squinted. It waits until eyes adjust. It does not demand you run. It walks at the pace that lets your breath be prayer. Let your breathing find his rhythm now. In, light received. Out, fear released. In, guidance given. Out, striving set down. You do not have to make yourself luminous. You are allowed to be illumined. You do not have to outshine the dark. You walk with the one whose presence transfigures the root. Sleep beneath that promise. Wake to it. Walk in it. And when the day offers dim corridors, lift your chin a little and remember, there is a lamp for your path and a sunrise in your chest. Evening walks softly over the hills, laying a blue shawl on the fields. The sheepfold is a low ring of stones, open to the sky, warm with the breath of gathered life. Inside, wool gleams faintly like small moons. Outside, the last birds stitch quiet across the air. A shepherd stands at the gate, staff in hand, eyes unhurried. He is not counting the way accountants count. He is remembering the way lovers remember. Each shape in the dim has a name that fits like a well-used coat. He speaks, and the flock settles. Because the voice is home. Jesus steps into this picture and says the sentence tired people most need. I am the Good Shepherd. Good, not hired and hurried, not distracted, not calculating whether care is worth the cost. Good, like shade at noon, like a hand that steadies without gripping too hard. Under such care, you are not a number. You are particular, known by gait and tendency, by the speed your courage returns, by the small sound your hope makes when it wakes. There are other voices on the hills. Some shout with urgency, selling safety they cannot supply. Some flatter in whispers that fatten fear underneath. Some call your name as if it were a product, useful while you perform, and replaceable when you tire. Jesus contrasts them gently. Thieves scale walls in the dark. Strangers speak without staying. They scatter more than they gather. But the shepherd comes by the gate, the honest entrance, and he calls in a tone that makes muscles unclench. The flock stirs, because memory recognizes mercy. He goes ahead of them. That detail is a blanket on the mind. He does not drive from behind with a stick. He walks in front with a song. Sometimes he slows, because the lame are learning a new pace. Sometimes he pauses, because a ewe has lost the thread of peace. Sometimes closer to brambles than to center. Burrs snag your wool from wandering, your knees carry old weather. The shepherd is not mapping your mistakes, he is noticing your fatigue. He sets his staff in the opening and becomes the door with his own body. No one enters to trouble you without passing through him. Keep this small sip of scripture near your pillow. Whoever enters through me will be saved. They will come in and go out and find pasture. Saved, and still free to move in the safe rhythm of love. Out for nourishment, in for rest. He speaks too of laying down his life for the sheep, not as an accident, but as a chosen offering. Love counts the cost and refuses to count you as the cost. There is mystery here and a cross on a future hill. But for tonight, let the shape of it warm you. He would rather be wounded than see you devoured. He would rather carry weight than watch you stagger. He would rather step between than stand aside. This is not indulgence. It is a fierce tenderness that refuses to outsource care. Do you worry you will miss his voice among so many? Notice the pattern. He never shouts from far away what he is willing to whisper from near. He closes the distance first. He sets his hand in your fleece, so sound does not have to travel far. Guidance arrives as a nudge rather than a shove. Provision as grass after dew. Correction as realignment rather than rejection. When wolves prowl with headlines for teeth and dread for breath, he answers with presence, numbering you again and again, until numbering feels like blessing. Sometimes he speaks your name twice, once to get your attention, twice so fear must pass through affection to reach you. Martha, Martha, Simon, Simon. He keeps stride with your honest gait. He also tells of other sheep not yet in this fold, promising to gather them until there is one flock, one shepherd. The sentence widens the circle beyond tribe or taste, beyond the songs you prefer or the ways you pray. You do not have to compete for the shepherd's gaze. Scarcity is not the economy here. He has room to notice you and still notice the world. Bandwidth for your small size and for wars that burn continents. His care is wide without becoming thin. Let your room become a pasture for a moment. The hum of a fan is wind on grass. The soft weight of blankets is earth holding you level. Distant traffic becomes owls speaking patience into the dark. Breathe with the flock, in as gathering, out as release, in as being named, out as being defended. If thoughts dart like anxious lambs, picture his staff laid across the only opening, making your mind a safe enclosure where rest can learn to lie down. Remember how sheep lie down only when 4 quietnesses arrive. Free from fear, free from friction, free from pests, and free from hunger. Watch him tend each one. Fear. He keeps watch, awake while you sleep. Friction. He nudges away the jostle of comparison and makes room for you beside still water. Pests. He anoints your head with oil, the old kindness that keeps small irritations from becoming despair. Hunger. He leads to green places, even when they grow in unlikely hills. He does not scold you for needing these things. He delights to provide them. If a second sip of scripture will help, hum this. The Good Shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. Small enough for bedside breath. Hash meta. Sleep edges close but hesitates. See the shepherd sit at the low gate of your chest. Watch how he listens, not with suspicion, with affection. Watch how he tilts his head toward any rustle in the brush and smiles when it decides to keep its distance. Hear how he hums an old melody from higher pasture until bones agree to be at ease. He will keep watch while you rest. It is a joy to him, not a chore. The night is long enough for your healing. Morning is willing to arrive, but not in a hurry. Breathe one last slow prayer into the fold. I belong. I am known. I am safe. Let the words lie down beside you like friendly dogs. Let the staff rest across the doorway of your thoughts. Let the field settle into star-speckled silence while the keeper of your soul sits awake, counting not your failures but your breaths, until you do not need numbers anymore and sleep comes like pasture after drought. Bethany rests on the slope like a friendly hand, olive trees offering thin shade, paths stitched with small stones, homes that know each other's voices. In one house, a room is quieter than usual. Mary moves with careful steps, listening for changes that do not come. Martha, always quick with bread and blankets, is quick now with cool cloths and whispered prayers. Their brother Lazarus lies pale, breath a little too shallow, sleep a little too heavy. Sickness has a way of slowing clocks and distorting hours. The sisters measure time by the rise and fall of his chest. They send a message with a neighbor who walks the road to where Jesus has been teaching. The note is short, not dramatic, just enough truth to carry love across miles. Lord, the one you love is ill. They do not argue a case or promise a return on his attention. They name love and need in one breath. It is the simplest prayer, and one of the truest. The one you love is hurting. News reaches Jesus. He receives it without frantic motion, the way he receives all things, with the Father's rhythm in his bones. Those nearby see no hurry on his face and wonder. Love and delay seem like strangers to us. In him, they are not enemies. He stays 2 more days where he is, not because indifference dulls him, but because a wider mercy is unwinding, one the sisters cannot yet see. Some healings stitch quietly in daylight. Some stories require a dusk and a dawn. Back in Bethany, the house breathes sadness. Friends arrive with baskets and awkward kindness. Mary folds her hands around a clay cup she forgets to drink from. Martha keeps moving, because movement holds back tears for a while. They take turns sitting by the bed, telling childhood memories in soft voices, as if stories could knit edges back together. At last, when the breath no longer rises, the room learns a deeper quiet. The sisters weep different ways. Mary's tears close to the surface, Martha's caught in the throat. 4 days pass. To some, that is a long time. To aching people, it is both a blink and a lifetime. The village accompanies the sisters in mourning. Even in grief, dishes must be washed, lamps trimmed, floors swept. Love keeps its small, faithful duties. Then, someone at the door says that Jesus is approaching. Martha, who is first to hear, is first to go. She crosses the path with a pace between hope and hurt, words ready, heart wide open, and still somehow braced. Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. The sentence is honest, not hostile, a confession of trust and timing all tangled. She is gentle but unhidden. I believe in you. I don't understand the delay. Her next breath holds faith's stubborn ember. But even now I know that whatever you ask of God, He will give you. Jesus meets her in the space between those lines. He does not scold grief for speaking plainly. He answers with a promise large enough to hold the ache. Your brother will rise. When she reaches for theology, I know he will rise in the resurrection at the last day. He brings future hope into present company. I am the resurrection and the life. He puts himself where abstract comfort stood. She nods, not because she grasps everything, but because she trusts him more than her map. Mary comes next, called quietly by her sister. She arrives with neighbors surrounding her like a soft fence. She falls at his feet, words nearly the same as Martha's, because truth does not need to be original to be sincere. Lord, if you had been here. Her voice breaks, and the crowd's sorrow rises around them. Jesus sees her weeping, and the friends weeping, and something moves in him with holy ache. He asks where they have laid Lazarus, and they say, "Come and see." At the tomb, a stone seals the entrance. Some observe and say, "See how he loved him." Others question the delay. Couldn't he who opened blind eyes have kept this man from dying? Jesus does not answer the critique. He answers the grave. "Take away the stone," he says. Martha hesitates, practical to the end. Time has done its work. Love does not dismiss her concern. It invites her nearer. Did I not tell you that if you believe, you will see the glory of God? She nods, and friends put hands to rock. Stone grinds against stone. Air moves in the darkness. Jesus lifts his eyes, not for spectacle, but for intimacy. Father, thank you that you heard me. I know you always hear me, but I say this for the crowd, that they may believe you sent me. Then he calls into the place where silence had been sovereign. "Lazarus, come out." The name is a hand extended. The command is the strength in the arm. There is a rustle from the shadowed shelf inside. A shape appears at the threshold, bound in strips, face wrapped. The impossible walks towards sunlight. Unbind him and let him go. Resurrection is not finished until the community helps cut away what death left behind. Friends step forward, fingers sure and tender, loosening cloth from wrists, freeing feet, lifting fabric from his face so he can breathe without linen in his mouth. He blinks at daylight and at the one who changed the story mid-sentence. The sister's sobs turn into laughter in the space of a heartbeat. The way night turns to morning when the horizon remembers fire. Not everyone rejoices. News stirs rooms where power worries, and other chapters will carry that weight. For tonight, remain here. A man who was held by darkness walks out under a sky that feels newly made. Two sisters hold the same shoulders they feared they would never touch again. A village watches love do something beyond custom. Fash meta. If your own heart keeps a tomb, a sealed place where you've stored what seemed beyond repair, hear the quiet sequence of the story. Honest lament meets a Lord who is not offended by sorrow. "Where have you laid him?" he asks, and you point to the ache. He weeps with you. Then, sometimes sooner than imagined, sometimes later than hoped, he asks for the stone. He invites participation,
hands on what feels immovable. When the way opens, he speaks a name, not person, not case, but your name, and life answers. A small verse to lay by your lamp. Jesus wept. Keep it for nights when explanations exhaust you. The maker of stars made room for tears. He has not required you to be stronger than he chose to be. And if you want a second line, hold this. I am the resurrection and the life. Not only someday, but someone now. Hope as a person at your door, not a concept you must keep polished. Notice, too, the last command. Unbind him. Freedom often comes with the gentle work of others. Let friends help loosen what grief wrapped too tight. Let prayer, counseling, small meals, slow walks, and patient laughter be part of the unwrapping. You are not a project. You are beloved. But beloved people sometimes need help removing grave clothes, and there is no shame in standing still while kindness cuts careful knots. Breathe more easily now. The air of Bethany reaches your room, olive and dust and bread warming somewhere. Imagine Jesus' hand on your shoulder, the steady weight of someone who does not leave midway through sorrow. Imagine a stone rolling, not by magic, but by willing hands, and a voice calling what was lost by name. Imagine the first steps out, awkward, blinking, real. Sleep can come here, in a village where the ordinary remains, and yet everything is different because love arrived when all clocks said too late, and proved that phrase wrong.
Evening gathers in the city, like a shawl drawn around tired shoulders. Up a narrow stair, a door opens into a room prepared with care. Low table, cushions set in a gentle circle. A single lamp painting warm halos on bread and cups. The air holds the fragrance of roasted herbs and memory. Friends arrive, a few at a time. Voices soft, steps reverent without quite knowing why. Outside, streets go on with errands. Inside, time slows, as if the room itself understands that love is about to speak a new dialect. Jesus moves among them with the ease of someone at home in every season of a soul. He notices dust clinging to the edges of their feet, the kind gathered from long roads and short worries, from marketplaces and moments of doubt. No one has offered the usual kindness of washing. The basin in the corner waits like an unplayed note. He stands, sets aside his outer garment, and ties a towel at his waist. The towel hangs there like a promise. I am here to serve what is tired in you. Water sings a small song as it pours into the basin. The first disciple startles at the touch. Cool water, warm hands. Jesus' fingers are sure, but gentle, the way a mother rinses a child after play, the way a friend tends a wound you are embarrassed to show. He does not hurry. He cups heel and arch, loosens grit with careful strokes, dries with the towel that has accepted humility as its work. The room grows quieter, each man recognizing that something large is arriving by means of something small. When he comes to Simon Peter, the fisherman's heart rises into his throat. Love kneeling is almost more than he can bear. Lord, are you going to wash my feet? His voice holds both reverence and refusal, because receiving can feel like exposure. Jesus meet, you have no share with me. The sentence unlatches something in Peter. Love, when it speaks plainly, often does. He blurts the whole of his longing. Not my feet only, but my hands and head as well. The others smile, recognizing his heart. Jesus smiles too, and finishes the washing. He goes on, basin traveling from cushion to cushion, dignity traveling too, because the one who stoops does not lose honor. He lends it. Even Judas feels the water on his skin. Jesus does not skip the complicated hearts. He does not deny what will come. He chooses to love in full knowledge, which means his love is stronger than surprise and steadier than disappointment. When he is done, he folds the towel, sets the basin aside, and sits again among them, as if this were the most natural thing. The king, crowned with a servant's cloth. Do you understand what I have done for you? He asks, not as an examiner, but as a teacher who delights in his students. You call me teacher and Lord, and rightly so, for that is what I am. Now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's. He does not add a list or a ledger. He gives a pattern. In his kingdom, greatness travels on its knees. In his family, authority puts on a towel. He is not staging a performance. He is rewriting reflexes. When faced with dust, choose water. When faced with pride, choose posture. When faced with betrayal's shadow, choose love. He breaks bread, gives thanks, and shares the cup. Words old and new knotted together like hands in prayer. Love explains itself in symbols because symbols can travel where speeches cannot. Into kitchens and wards, onto buses, and into long nights at desks. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. He looks around the circle and sees each story. Thomas, loyal and careful, already preparing his questions. John, heart open like a window. Peter, brave and breakable in the same hour. He speaks the line that will be a lamp in every hallway of fear. Do not let your hearts be troubled. The words do not scold anxiety, they guide it. Their trouble will not vanish tonight, but trouble need not take the captain's chair. Believe in God, believe also in me. Trust will be the bed they sleep on when explanations are thin. He talks of a house with many rooms, not like a mansion catalog, but like a family promise. I go to prepare a place for you. You are not earning a rental. You are awaited at home. When Thomas needs a map, Jesus offers himself instead. I am the way. He does not hand them a maze. He gives them a hand. When Philip asks to see the Father, Jesus answers with tenderness, "If you have watched me love, you have seen the Father's heart." God looks like this: basin, towel, bread, cup, a gaze that does not turn away. He promises a helper, the Spirit who will teach and remind, comfort and steady. Love will not leave them orphaned. Peace is given not as the world gives, with scarcity and expiration dates, but as presence that stays. The room receives this like balm on a bruise. He rises, and before they go to the garden, he offers what may be the soft center of the evening, a prayer for them, for those who will believe because of them, for you. He prays that they may be one, that love may be their grammar, that joy may be made full. If you need a verse small enough to hold while drifting toward sleep, let it be this: "As I have loved you, so you must love one another. Not as you fear, not as you perform, not as you manage." Perhaps your feet feel dusty tonight, the kind of tired that creeps up from the ground and whispers, "You are only what you accomplish." Let the memory of water visit you. Imagine Jesus kneeling at the edge of your bed, the towel warm from his hands. He does not wince at the grit of your day. He does not look over his shoulder to see who is watching. He is unembarrassed by nearness. He tends what carries you, then looks up as if to say, "This is how I love you." Then, softly, let this be how you love too. Breathe like the basin, filled, poured, filled again. In, received. Out, given. In, peace. Out, service. Let the room of your heart hold a low table, a lamp, a circle where no one must earn their place. Let there be a towel within reach for whatever dust tomorrow brings. And sleep under the kindness of a king who chose the floor, who washed what was weary, who left a pattern you can trace with even the smallest acts. The floor swept without complaint, the apology offered first, the text that says, "I see you," the refusal to answer bitterness with the same. The night outside deepens. Inside, the lamp burns steady. Love has taught your feet to rest, your hands to serve, your heart to trust that nothing done in the posture of a towel is ever wasted. Close your eyes. The one who washed dust away keeps watch still. Night leans its ear against the window, and the room where Jesus lingers with his friends feels like a garden already. Lamplight pooling like moonlight, shadows like leaves along the floor. He speaks as though he were walking them between rows of vines, hand brushing tendrils, voice unhurried enough for roots to listen. I am the vine, you are the branches. The image arrives with soil still clinging to it, honest and restful. He does not say, "Be a factory and produce." He says, "Abide and receive." Life first, fruit later. Connection before accomplishment. Love as the sap that travels where anxiety never could. He tells them that the Father is the gardener, wise hands that know when to lift and when to prune, when to shade, and when to invite sun. Pruning is not punishment. It is the refusal to let lesser growth steal strength from better fruit. The knife is careful, the season chosen, the cut clean and kind. If you have felt something taken that once felt vital, a task, a title, a rhythm you trusted, do not rush to name it loss. It may be the gardener, making room for sweetness that cannot ripen in cluttered shade. Branches do not command seasons, they consent to them. Abide. The syllables are slow enough to match breathing. Bide. Remain. Stay near. He does not ask them to sprint into sainthood. He invites them to stay where life flows. He names the secret of the orchard. Apart from the vine, branches cannot keep themselves alive by willpower. Leaves may posture for a while, but without the vine they will crisp and curl. Connected though, oh connected, sap rises unseen, and what was bare begins to ornament itself with green. Then blossom. The vine does not demand you relocate. It asks that you receive. You can abide in a kitchen, in traffic, over spreadsheets, at a sickbed, in a classroom, on a bench where you finally admitted tiredness was not a sin. You can abide at midnight, when questions hum like insects, and at noon, when pride wants to bark orders. Abiding is the art of staying stayed. He speaks of joy in this garden language, not the noisy joy that needs crowds to hold it up, but the settled kind that ripens quietly. I have told you these things so that my joy may be in you, and that your joy may be full. Full joy, like a basket that does not tip when carried. Full joy, like sunlight storing itself inside grapes. It is not a denial of sorrow. He has already wept, and soon he will sweat blood. It is the promise that sorrow will not rot the root. Joy becomes the note still audible when storms pass. This abiding has a flavor. Love. As the Father has loved me, so have I loved you. Now remain in my love. Remain. When your own love runs thin, when the world misreads your gentleness, when your efforts are unseen. Remain when you are praised, and praise threatens to become the sap. When you are criticized, and criticism pretends to be a gardener. Remain, because his love is not a weather report. It is climate. Commandments in this vineyard are not barbed wire. They are pathways between rows, keeping feet from trampling roots. My command is this: love one another as I have loved you. Love as washing, as listening, as truth without sharpness, as courage without show. Love as staying. Fruit that lasts. Conversations that keep echoing in the quiet after words have ended. Kindness that outlives the moment of its giving. Forgiveness that mends more than one heart. Lasting fruit is not loud. It survives winters. He warns gently that not everyone will bless these blossoms. Some will call shade darkness and fruit foolishness. If the world hates you, keep in mind that it hated me first, he says, not to sour their hearts, but to steady them. Vines cling, they do not clench. When winds scoff, branches can remember the trunk holds. You will not be understood by every weather. You will be held by the vine in all of it. He promises a helper, the Spirit, who will keep sap moving when memory falters. The Spirit will remind, will comfort, will tilt faces toward light when gloom pulls at chins. Imagine a breeze moving through leaves on a day too still for comfort. That is how the helper arrives, not with spectacle, with sustenance. The Spirit will teach you the grammar of abiding. Breath as prayer, interruption as invitation, limits as trellis, weakness as the very place where life loves to show itself strong. If you fear you do not know how to abide, begin small and bodily. Rest your hand upon your chest and notice the quiet pump of life. Whisper, "Here I am. Here you are." When accusation rises about productivity, about pace, about whether you are enough, picture the gardener's hand on the knife and hear him say, "Gently now. We are making room." When you feel severed by hurry or by shame, picture the grafting. A careful cut, a fitting, a binding, a waiting, and then the slow exchange of life across what once was broken. God is patient with union. He has always loved to make two things one. You may ask, "What is my fruit?" You will know it by its taste in others. Do people breathe easier when you have been near? Does your yes make room rather than debt? Does your no guard the precious without growing hard? Sex. Does your presence carry the temperature of Christ, steady, warm, unembarrassed to love? Fruit is not a resume, it is nourishment. In seasons when fruit is not visible, trust the root. Winter belongs to the vine too. He tucks a promise into all this vine talk you can take to bed like a small, sweet thing in your palm. Ask whatever you wish in my name, and it will be done for you. Not a blank check for hurry or for ego, but a promise that as you abide, your wishing learns the shape of his heart. Prayers become sap true, requests for the kind of life that makes love possible. And the Father is glorified, not by your frenzy, but by your fruit, by evidence that the branch belongs to the vine. If you carry a short verse into sleep, let it be the simplest. Abide in me. Say it until the syllables turn hammock. Abide in me. When tomorrow's tasks line up at the foot of the bed, abide in me. When memory starts reciting old failures, abide in me. When success tempts you to think you are the source, let the words become the trellis of your night. Now, make your breathing vine-like, slow, generous, continuous. In, life received. Out, strain released. In, love given. Out, fear surrendered. The gardener walks the rows of your thoughts, touching leaves, checking ties,
lifting what is sagged, cutting away what siphons strength. There is no scorn in his step. There is only patience and the long view that sees harvest where you only see green. The lamp lowers. The room is quieter than when you began. Somewhere in an actual vineyard, night wind combs the leaves and the moon whitens the shoulders of clustered fruit. You are not asked to ripen yourself by effort. You are invited to rest where ripening is natural. Remain in love. Remain in the one who remained for you. When morning comes, the branch will still be in the vine. When evening returns, the vine will still be in you. Sleep inside that union, rooted, held, and quietly becoming sweet.
The night is deeper now, but Jesus' voice is steady, like a lantern that refuses to be hurried by wind. The friends have tasted bread and promise. Their feet are clean, and their hearts are full, and frightened at once. Outside, the city settles into its ordinary noises. Inside, he speaks to them the way a good father speaks on a front porch when grown children are about to drive away. Not with panic, but with promises strong enough to ride along. I will not leave you as orphans, he says, and the sentence crosses the room like a blanket. They do not yet have words for the feeling that has been circling them, how it seems the hour is moving toward absence, how love can be present and threatened at once. Orphan is the word he chooses to tell them what will not happen. Whatever the next hours hold, you will not be unfathered. You will not be left keyless at a locked house. You will not have to invent family from scratch. Love is making other arrangements. He speaks of the helper, the advocate, the spirit of truth, names like facets on the same gem, catching different light. Helper, because they will need strength that isn't a performance. Advocate, because they will stand in rooms where confidence fails, and they will need a presence to lean on without shame. Spirit of truth, because the world's fog will be thick, and he wants their hearts equipped with an inner compass that points home without yelling. He will be with you and in you, Jesus says, and the prepositions are pure mercy. With, so you do not feel alone. In, so you do not have to keep summoning courage from an empty cupboard. He promises remembering. He will teach you all things and remind you of everything I have said. They will forget. Of course they will. Fear edits memory. The Spirit will re-edit, gently restoring lines love spoke. In a market, a sentence will return. On a shoreline, a look will be recalled. In a prison, a hymn, the Spirit will not scold them for forgetting. He will be the holy friend who keeps a copy of all the letters and reads them back at the needful hour. Peace, he adds, the kind the world cannot counterfeit for long. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give to you. Not a peace bricked up behind thick walls, not a hush purchased by avoidance, but a person's nearness, turning chaos into a place where breath is possible. He tells their hearts not to be troubled, not to be afraid. He is not asking them to deny storms. He is offering them an anchor that storms cannot lift. Peace will not erase weather. It will hold the boat steady. Peace will not cancel grief. It will keep grief from becoming God. They do not journal these words. They wear them. Even so, sorrow gathers like rain at the edge of the horizon. He does not pretend it won't. You will weep and lament, he says with the kindness of realism. But your sorrow will turn to joy. Not be replaced by joy, as if sorrow were a broken toy thrown away. Turn to joy, as if the very material of pain is what God reshapes into gladness. He reaches for an image an ordinary home can understand. A woman in labor. Pain is real. It does not become less by positivity. Yet when the child is placed on her chest, pain has somehow borne a blessing. Memory still knows what it cost. Meaning changes how it is carried. He looks at them, eyes he chose, voices he knows, futures he has already imagined, and he gives them this: no one will take your joy from you. Not because they will never be persecuted, but because the fountain of their joy will be inside them, not confiscatable by keys or chains. Rome cannot legislate resurrection out of a body that has been taught to breathe spirit air. Despair cannot finally occupy a soul that has learned the difference between circumstance. In my name means in my nearness, in my character, inside the same welcome I live inside. They will not need a louder voice or a longer speech. They will be walking into a conversation already in progress, loved before they begin. The Father himself loves you, he adds, as if to underline what shame keeps erasing. The Father himself. Not reluctantly, not through gritted teeth of divine duty. Himself. He warns them honestly. In this world you will have trouble. It is a mercy to be told the truth about the road. Trouble comes in shapes large and ordinary, courts and rumors, illness and misunderstanding, the long fatigue of trying to do good in a place that sometimes mistakes it for harm. He does not end on trouble. He leans forward with the sentence that hangs like a banner across every night to come. Take heart. I have overcome the world. Overcome. Not by avoiding it, but by entering it, loving in it, dying within its cruelty and rising where it had no permission to. Overcome, as in, the deep structure has been altered. The story's last chapter has been written in ink that storms cannot smudge. They try to hold all this, and he helps them by praying. He prays for himself with the humility of one who knows his hour and does not run. He prays for them with the tenderness of one who knows their names will be spoken in dangerous circles. He prays for future believers as though he already hears your voice singing in a room somewhere far down the centuries. He asks that they may be one. Not a brittle uniformity, but a lived belonging that smells like grace. He asks that love would be their proof, not clever argument or spectacle, but a recognizable family resemblance to the heart of God. He speaks of glory, not as applause, but as the clear shining of what is true. Father revealed in Son, Son revealing Father, light making the map useful. He asks that they would be kept from the evil one, not extracted from #meta, carrying peace like seed. He asks that joy would be full, and that truth would sanctify, not remove them from bread and sweat, but teach them to carry heaven's weather into ordinary kitchens and streets. For your own night, gather the promises as if tucking blankets, not orphaned, helper with you and in you, remembering what you forget, peace that stays, sorrow turning into joy, joy no one can take, access to the Father's welcome, trouble named, courage commanded, world overcome. You do not need to memorize them to be held by them. The Spirit remembers for you when your mind is tired. He will place the right one in your palm at 3 a.m. like a cup of water. If you wish to carry a single sentence to bed, let it be the last. Take heart. I have overcome the world. Hear it in his tone, no swagger, only certainty born of love. Take heart. Pick it up where you dropped it. I have overcome, not I will, not I might. The work is anchored. The night can be honest, because the dawn is guaranteed. Let your breathing learn these promises. In, not orphaned. Out, peace I give. In, sorrow to joy. Out, no one takes it. In, ask in my name. Out, the Father himself loves you. In, you will have trouble. Out, take heart. The room is quiet, and presence is not in a hurry. The helper keeps watch, teaching your dreams to trust what daylight sometimes forgets. The world will keep being the world. The overcomer will keep being himself. Between those truths, there is a wide, safe place for sleep. Night has a fragrance in gardens, olive, damp earth, the faint sweetness of crushed leaves under careful feet. Jesus crosses the Kidron with his friends and enters a place where they have often rested. Prayers have soaked these trees before. The branches remember whispers. He asks the circle to keep watch, then steps a little farther, not to leave them, but to bear what they cannot yet carry. He kneels. The ground is cool. The sky is weighty with stars. Love does not pretend fear is light. Love carries fear toward the Father and stays. Footsteps approach. A knot of lanterns bobbing, armor catching moonlight. A rehearsed resolve hiding uneasy hearts. Judas walks in front, face arranged for purpose, and kisses Jesus in the old sign of friendship. The gesture aches. Jesus does not snatch back his cheek. He receives what the night brings, eyes holding Judas with the last softness available before choices harden. The others step forward with ropes ready and names for him on their tongues. "Who are you looking for?" Jesus asks, voice even. "Jesus of Nazareth," they say, braced. "I am," he answers. And in the answer, something larger than soldiers tilts the air. They step back, startled by a presence their orders did not include. Peter's hand is quicker than his breath, a blade flashing, a wound blooming where words failed him. Jesus stills the moment, as he has stilled so many storms. Put the sword away. He touches, mends, teaches in one movement. The cup is chosen. The road does not swerve. Ropes find wrists that once held children, and bread, and rough nets. The shepherd is led so that the sheep will not be scattered beyond recall. They take him to rooms that smell of lamp oil and opinion. First to Annas, then to Caiaphas, then toward the governor, when religious convenience needs Rome's stamp.
"You are with him," a voice says, casual as a pebble tossed. He shakes his head. Another voice, then a third. The night becomes a mirror he cannot look into. The rooster lifts a thin trumpet against the dark, and memory floods like cold water. Jesus had said this would happen. When their eyes meet across the courtyard, there is no mockery in his, only knowledge and love. A look that will later teach Peter to weep without despair and to feed sheep without swagger. Inside, questions collect like knives. "Are you the king of the Jews?" Pilate asks, a man split between pragmatism and his own faint reverence for innocence. "My kingdom is not of this world," Jesus answers, and the sentence slides past politics into truth. He speaks of witness and listening, of truth recognizable to those who love it. "What is truth?" Pilate murmurs, half challenge, half ache, and the room cannot hold the answer standing in front of him. You know the rest. Barter with a crowd, a basin with water that cannot wash a conscience, a verdict shaped by fear of riot. The soldiers do what bored cruelty always does when given permission: mock, dress, strike. Invent a play where pain gets the laugh. A crown of thorns makes him king in their small theater. He wears it without costume. He is still himself beneath the reed and robe. "Behold the man," Pilate says, as if pity could satisfy fury. It cannot. The sentence walks. On a hill outside the city, the world reveals how far it will go to keep power's comfort. Crosses stand like question marks against afternoon. Nails are names in metal. Wood is honest with weight. No need to dwell in detail. The gospel itself is gentle enough to carry us through. He speaks few sentences, each one a shelter, to a thief promising presence, to his mother providing a son, to his father yielding his breath. One small line can carry you through any night. "Father, into your hands I commit my spirit." In that yielding, something ancient and clenched begins to loosen.
The curtain that said, "Keep out," tears from top to bottom, as if heaven itself could not bear the distance any longer. The earth shudders, like a body waking from long anesthesia. A centurion, trained to see only orders, sees innocence and says so. Evening asks for haste. A quiet man named Joseph offers a new tomb in a garden nearby. Another, Nicodemus, the careful teacher who once came by night, arrives with spices enough to make the whole place smell like a dignified kindness. They wrap him gently, as if tenderness could argue with stone. The women note the place with the fierce memory of those who love and plan to return. The rock wrongs. The world holds its breath again, only this time with an ache that feels final. But love has never called final what the Father has named passage. Before dawn on the first day, while the city still sleeps and birds are deciding which note will begin morning, Mary Magdalene comes to the garden. Grief has its own calendar. She does not ask permission to visit. She finds the stone moved, the place undone in a way that frightens before it comforts. She runs to tell the others, feet forgetting sorrow's weight for a moment. Peter and the beloved disciple come, see linen like an empty cocoon, and leave in a confusion that is already warming toward wonder. Mary remains. Sometimes the bravest prayer is to stay where loss last spoke, and wait to be addressed by name. Angels ask questions that sound like invitations. Why are you weeping? She answers with the only truth she can reach. They have taken my Lord, and I don't know where. A gardener stands nearby, or so her eyes decide. Why are you weeping? Whom are you seeking? He asks, and she answers with practical love. Tell me where. I will tend him. Then he says her name. Mary. Rabboni. The body that held death's weight holds mercy's warmth. Do not cling to me, he says, not to refuse affection, but to widen it. Love will not be confined to one garden. It will fill every road his friends will walk. Go to my brothers and tell them. She becomes the first messenger of a dawn large enough to fold the world into it. Later, locked doors will not keep him out. Peace be with you, he will say to the frightened, and breath will become gift, spirit given like wind through tight rooms. Thomas, who wants to touch what he trusts, will be invited to place fingers where love and violence met and love endured. My Lord and my God, he will answer, the most honest confession a careful heart can make. Another morning, a beach will smoke with a small fire. Fish will crisp in the early light. The lake will remember feet on its skin and storms stilled by presence. Children, have you any fish? He will call, and nets will argue with obedience until obedience wins, and nets cannot contain relief. Peter will wade fast because some distances cannot be rowed. They will eat breakfast with God, bread and fish and restoration. 3 questions will meet 3 denials, and a shepherd will be re-given his flock, not with shame, but with trust. Feed my sheep. If a single thread can hold tonight's blanket, let it be the one braided from garden to garden, olive grove to empty tomb, arrest to breakfast. Love stayed, love suffered, love rose. Love still cooks morning meals for tired people. Keep one sip of scripture by your pillow. Peace be with you. And one more, small as a seed. He called her by name. Breathe as if the stone is rolling in your chest. Out with the stale ache. In with air that smells like first day. Out. It is finished. In. Haj Meta pause. Saxes 0.05, and quietly made new. Thank you for keeping company through this gentle journey in John, the rooms of light and water, bread and dawn, whispers at night and laughter by the sea. As your day sets its tools down, may the Word who spoke you into being speak, rest over every hurried thought. May the light that does not flicker guide your breath, one slow tide at a time. May the Good Shepherd keep watch at the door of your heart, so that fear must pass through kindness before it reaches you. May the vine hold you close, life moving quietly where effort has grown thin. And may the peace he promised settle over your room like warm lamplight. Let the fragments of goodness gathered tonight be enough, a sentence that eased your chest, a picture that warmed your mind, a promise that stood near your bed. Nothing is lost in love's careful hands. If tears come, let them be soft and honest. He remembers how to weep and how to turn weeping into joy. If silence comes, let it be prayer. He already knows what you need before your lips can form the words. Now, a simple blessing for sleep. Father of lights, thank you for this listener, tired, beloved, carried. Jesus, gentle Savior, set your peace like a lamp within this room. Holy Spirit, comforter and friend, breathe through the night with quiet nearness. Grant deep rest to body and mind. Guard the dreams. Heal what is sore, mend what is frayed. Gather this heart under your care and keep it there until morning. When dawn returns, let courage wake without hurry. Let gratitude come like first light across the floor. Let kindness be the first word on the tongue and the last one kept. Beloved child of God, you are safe. You are seen and named. You may close your eyes without fear. Peace be with you, now through the watches of the night and into the day that waits with mercy. Amen.